Before we go any further, I need you to hear this clearly. You did not just find this video. In a strange way, this video found you. I know that sounds dramatic. I know people say things like that all the time. But stay with me, because there is a real difference between casually clicking on something and feeling pulled toward it by something you cannot fully explain. What is happening right now, with you sitting here and hearing these words, does not feel random. It does not feel like noise. It feels exact. And somewhere under the rush of your day, under the messages, the pressure, the routines, you already felt that. Not plain curiosity, something softer than that, something heavier, something like recognition, like reading the first line of a page you once wrote in the dark and somehow forgot. Listen closely. You have been carrying something for a while now. Not the kind of weight people can see on your face and ask about. Not the kind that gets sympathy. This is the quiet kind. The kind that sits behind your chest and stays there all day, calm and constant. You have lived with it so long that you almost stopped noticing it. Almost. But not fully. You still feel it in the morning before the world gets loud. You still feel it in those tiny spaces between one task and the next, when the distraction fades and the truth comes closer. You feel it when someone asks, "How are you?" and you say, "I'm fine," while meaning something far more complex. And the truth you have not said out loud lately is simple. You are tired, not broken, not weak, not falling apart. Tired. There is a difference, a huge one, and the story you have been telling yourself about what this tiredness means is not the whole story. Not even close. You have been doing more work than you give yourself credit for. Maybe not perfectly. Maybe not in a clean, graceful, inspirational way. Maybe with setbacks. Maybe with nights where old feelings came back and sat beside you longer than you wanted. Maybe with moments when you almost reached for the thing you promised yourself you were done reaching for. But still, you have been doing the work. Quietly. Privately. In those small choices nobody sees and nobody praises. The text you did not send. The morning you got up anyway, when staying in bed, would have felt safer. The evening you sat with pain instead of running from it. The minute you chose silence over chaos. The hour you resisted filling the emptiness with noise just to make the feeling stop. Those choices matter more than you know. Do not scroll away yet. I need you to hear this part. The exhausted part of you is not the failing part. It is the part that has been carrying too much for too long with almost no help and very little rest. That matters. That means something. There is a deep intelligence inside you, and it is not passive. It is not just a storage box for old wounds, old memories, old conversations you replay at midnight. It is alive. It moves. It pushes toward healing and truth with a quiet force that does not ask if the timing feels convenient. And when you are truly ready for something, not ready in the way people say they are, but ready because you have suffered, stretched, lost, learned, and stayed open anyway, that inner world begins to shift things. It starts arranging moments. It starts lining up signs. It starts bringing certain words, people, ideas, and realizations into your path. The logical mind calls that coincidence because coincidence feels safer. But sometimes it is more than that. Sometimes it is your life trying to lead you somewhere new. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it. What have you been trying to figure out all by yourself? Because there is something very specific here. You have been holding a version of your life in your mind for a long time, not obsessing over it every second, not clinging to it with both hands, just holding it carefully. The way you hold something delicate when you are not sure if it is meant to stay or meant to be released. A version where what feels unfinished finally settles. A version where something hanging in the air between you and another person or between you and a future you can almost picture finally lands somewhere real. You have not fully let go of that picture. But lately, in your quietest moments, You have started to wonder whether still wanting it makes you foolish. Whether this hope you keep protecting in private is wisdom or fear wearing a softer face. That question matters. And if that question has been living in you, then this message is for you. Because what you are holding is not simply wisdom, and it is not foolishness either. It is deeper than that. It is discernment still taking shape. You are learning the difference between hope that supports you and attachment that drains you. That lesson almost never arrives cleanly. It comes in layers, in confusion, in mixed signals, in hard days that look like proof you were wrong, in small breakthroughs that feel too fragile to trust. From the inside, that kind of growth does not feel inspiring. It feels like being stuck in a doorway. You cannot go back to the room behind you because you have outgrown it, even if it once felt familiar. And you cannot fully step into the room ahead because it is still unknown. The doorway is narrow, the waiting is heavy, the in-between is exhausting, and still you are standing there. Still you are staying with it. There is an old psychological idea that says when two opposite forces live inside you for long enough, something new begins to form. Not one side winning, not the other side disappearing. Something third, something fuller, something that could only be born through tension. That is where you are, between what you want and what you fear, between who you used to be and who you are becoming, between the past still asking for your attention and the future quietly asking for your trust. And this process does not move on your schedule. It does not happen the second you decide you are ready. It does not happen because you finally made the perfect plan. It happens when enough of the old structure inside you has softened and broken apart to make room for the new. That breaking apart is the part most people mistake for failure. It feels like nothing is moving. It feels slow. It feels frustrating. But stay with me here. The pressure you are under may not be the pressure of something dying. It may be the pressure of something trying to be born. You are not just stuck. You are in the middle of becoming, and becoming is disorienting. It strips away the old map before the new one is clear. It leaves you standing in a life that still looks normal on the outside while everything inside is being rearranged. That is why the in-between hurts so much. From the outside, you look fine. You answer people. You handle your responsibilities. You show up. You laugh when you are supposed to. But underneath that, entire beliefs are being rewritten. What you deserve, what love should feel like, what you will accept, what you will no longer carry, what kind of life you are no longer willing to fake. That work is sacred, even when nobody sees it, especially then. Now I want to speak about the person who has been on your mind. The one whose name you do not always say, but whose presence still lives somewhere inside you. The one who comes back in strange moments. A song, a certain kind of evening light. A word someone says in passing that suddenly opens a room in your chest you forgot was there. They are part of this story, but they are not the center of it. You are. Still, they matter here. And what I need you to understand is this. They are in their own process too. Maybe they cannot name it. Maybe they are hiding it well. Maybe on the surface they look fine, distracted, busy, moving on, doing life as usual. But underneath that surface, something is working on them. Something is confronting the gap between the person they have been and the person they would have to become to live honestly. That gap does not close through pretending. It does not close through staying busy. It does not close just because someone decides not to feel. It closes through reckoning, through truth catching up, through silence getting loud. And sometimes the memory of a real connection becomes part of that reckoning, not because you are here to save them, not because your healing should depend on their awakening, not because your life is meant to pause until they understand what they lost. No, none of that. But because what was real between you did not vanish just because the connection changed shape. Real things do not disappear that easily. They go underground, and what goes underground does not always die. Sometimes it grows roots. Sometimes it keeps moving in the dark toward light. That is why certain memories return at odd hours. That is why absence can still speak. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. If they felt something true with you, that truth still exists somewhere in them, whether they have language for it or not. But listen very carefully, because this is where people often lose themselves. I am not telling you to wait for them. I am not telling you to put your life on pause and call it loyalty. I am not telling you to build a home inside uncertainty and stay there forever. What I am saying is more important than any advice about reaching out or staying silent. The version of you that is growing right now, quietly, in the middle of all this fatigue and confusion, is not in conflict with love. That version of you is what makes real love possible. The love that does not ask you to shrink. The love that does not reward confusion. The love that does not require you to translate yourself into a smaller, easier version just to be received. The love that does not keep you tense. The love that does not make you beg for clarity. That kind of love meets you when you are standing fully in yourself, not performing, not chasing, not trying to earn your place by overgiving. The closer you get to that grounded version of yourself, the more possible the right connection becomes. This is the part people forget. Healing does not make you harder to love. It makes you easier to find. It does not make you cold. It makes you clear. It does not push away what is meant for you. It helps what is meant for you recognize you. There is a version of your life where things come together in a way you cannot yet see from where you stand. Not because anything is guaranteed. Life does not work like that. But because the quiet work you are doing changes what becomes available to you. When you stop performing, when you stop abandoning yourself, when you get honest about what you want and brave enough to keep wanting it even without immediate proof, life begins to answer differently, not always fast, but differently. I want to talk now to the scared part of you, not the strong part. The strong part has carried you this far. It knows how to survive. It knows how to function. I want the softer part, the one that wakes up in the middle of the night and wonders if you hoped too much, if you stayed too open, if you gave too much of yourself to something that did not know what to do with your depth. The part that quietly wonders whether the real mistake was not them, or that moment, or that ending, but something in you, the fact that you feel deeply. The fact that when you love, you do not do it halfway. The fact that your heart does not know how to stay casual when something matters. Hear me. That is not your flaw. Your depth is not the problem. It has never been the problem. The only real mistake you could make now would be deciding that your capacity to feel is a weakness. It is not. It is one of the most powerful things about you. The right love is not threatened by depth. It is built for it. The right connection does not run from sincerity. It knows what to do with it. So do not make yourself smaller just because something smaller once failed to hold you. Do not train your heart to become less alive just because someone else could not meet it there. Stay with this. Really stay with it. You are not too much because someone was not enough. You are not difficult because someone was not ready. You are not wrong because your love came with truth, attention, and real presence. Please do not punish yourself for having a soul that knows how to care deeply. That is not the thing that needs fixing. What needs care now is your trust in your own worth, your willingness to keep becoming without turning bitter, and your courage to believe that what is true in you still has a place in the life ahead. There is also something else you need to understand about absence. Absence changes people, quietly, slowly, not always in a way they announce, not always in a way they even understand while it is happening, but it changes them. When someone has known something real, and then that real thing is no longer there, the space it leaves can become a mirror. The memory of you in their life is not frozen. It moves as they move. It asks silent questions. It sits with them in ordinary moments. It appears when the room is quiet enough, when the distraction fades, when the performance gets tiring. And the question it asks is simple. Who are you becoming? Are you choosing your life on purpose, or are you just repeating what feels safe? Are you honest with yourself, or only comfortable? Those are hard questions. Most people do not go looking for them. They get found by them. In the same way you were found by this message, some people are found by the truth they kept pushing away. But this still cannot become the center of your healing. Their process is theirs. Their timing is theirs. Their reckoning is theirs. Your life cannot be built around waiting for another person to wake up. The self that is trying to rise in you, the calmer, stronger, rooted version of you, cannot fully come forward while all your energy is tied to someone else's unfinished chapter. Your becoming needs your full attention, your full belief, your full loyalty. You are not here to live as a side character in another person's emotional story. You are the lead in your own life, the author, the one who decides what comes next. And there is something beautiful in that, because the more fully you step into your own life, the more visible you become to what is right for you. You are not becoming unavailable by healing. You are becoming recognizable. You are becoming someone the right future can finally meet. And that future may be closer than it feels right now. I know that is hard to believe when the present feels slow and quiet and almost painfully ordinary. Real change rarely announces itself with a dramatic warning. Most of the time it is preceded by tension, by confusion, by days that feel flat, by nights that feel longer than they should, by the strange sense that nothing is happening when in fact everything important is happening under the surface. Think about that for a second. The cocoon does not feel like freedom. It feels tight. It feels hidden. It feels like being trapped inside a shape that no longer fits and not yet knowing what comes next. That is often what transformation feels like from the inside. Not magical, not clear, not photogenic, just pressurized. But pressure is not always punishment. Sometimes pressure is preparation. Sometimes pressure is the final stage before the walls finally give way. The work you have been doing in private has not been wasted. The mornings you chose yourself mattered. The boundaries you kept mattered. The tears you did not understand mattered. The small acts of self-respect, done with no witness and no applause, mattered. They have been building something real, something almost ready to show itself. So if life has felt strangely silent, do not assume silence means abandonment. Sometimes silence means things are forming that are too deep for noise. Sometimes the next chapter is not absent. Sometimes it is gathering. Sometimes it is waiting for one more shift inside you before it can enter fully. So breathe. Stay here. Don't click away from your own life just because the proof has not arrived yet. The absence of proof is not proof of absence, not always, not in the parts of life that matter most. I want to leave you with this, and I want it to stay with you long after these words end. You are not at the end of the story you have been fearing. You are at a threshold. That is different. A threshold can feel like an ending because so much of the old has to fall away before the new becomes visible. But it is not the same thing. A threshold is where one life stops fitting and another begins to call your name. The crossing is rarely loud. It usually comes as a morning that feels slightly lighter than the one before it. A decision that seems small but changes everything. A conversation that clears a fog you have lived in for months. A breath that lets go of something you have been holding for years. Then another choice. Another breath, another quiet act of honesty, and little by little, the life that has been forming in secret begins to take shape in front of you. One day you look back at this season, the one that felt like a doorway with no exit, and you realize you are no longer standing there. You crossed, you changed, you became someone deeper, clearer, more real, and what once felt like waiting reveals itself as arrival. So, if these words landed somewhere true in you, hold on to that. Stay with yourself. Stay close to your own becoming. Do not betray the part of you that knows there is more ahead than what has happened so far. The next part of your life is already moving toward you, even if you cannot yet see the full outline. Trust the quiet work. Trust the pressure. Trust the tenderness you are learning to give yourself. And above all, trust this: you are closer than you think, much closer. The life you are asking for may already be finding its way through the dark, learning your shape, learning your name, getting ready to meet the version of you that finally knows she never had to beg to be chosen.